Jeff Skull, aka DJ Scully Funk. Every Sunday afternoon, my partner Gary, aka DJ Gaza Taylor, and I choose a theme and play our favorite songs that fit that theme. Tune in right here every Sunday from noon to 2 on iLive Radio.
Every Friday, take a trip around the world with music from around the globe. Colors of Rhythm with your host DJ Ron John. Fridays, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. on iLive Radio, iliveradio.com.
Hey, what's going on, everybody in cyberspace? This is The Groove Show with your boy, the crowd pleaser, DJ Mark Anthony. Don't forget, each and every Saturday afternoon from 4 to 6 p.m., we want to put you in the mood for whatever the night has in store. I'm playing only the best feel-good, party rocking, body-shaking music from funk to soul to reggae to R&B, house to salsa, and much, much more. We call it The Groove each and every Saturday from 4 to 6 p.m. Keep it locked. It's the crowd pleaser, baby. You know how we do. We'll see you on the air. Peace.
Attention all musicians, bands, associations, clubs, and organizations that represent collective styles of music across Canada. Now is the time to rebuild our collective Music Nation genres like hip-hop, R&B, jazz, soul, reggae, gospel, and more united. The Collective Music Nation is a non-profit organization committed to the development of collective music. Free memberships are available now. The Collective Music Nation. One voice, strength in unity.
Core Platinum, an organization where Indigenous and Black business owners can network, promote, and grow their business. Join their ever-growing Core Platinum website and be seen by customers everywhere. Plus, win jobs posted by interested customers. Looking for a reliable contractor or service? Use Core Platinum's platform to find service vendors, submit service requests, earn referral points, and more. Core Platinum. Sign up is free. Sign up now at mycpg.ca. That's mycpg.ca.
You're listening to iLive Radio, changing the way you listen to radio. iLive Radio.
The number one hit music station.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, everyone. Hey. Welcome to the Sunday's edition of Womanhood. Thank you for joining us today. Really appreciate it. How are you doing over there, Tina Nicole?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
I am blessed. As you can tell, I am in the studio today. Decided to come with Son of Man and be one with the studio. So back in my original stomping grounds, which is great.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's really good. So
it's so funny because I knew you were going to be in the studio today, and I see, like a little shock. I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, I had to catch myself. So I'm used to see the beautiful background and the lighting and all that good stuff.
Yes, I love the background. But yeah, no background today. But it's all good. Still a beautiful background. We got all of
absolutely.
iLive in the back. Exactly. It's all about iLive. So very happy to be here today. And today our topic is, well, actually, it's part 3 or 4 of our self-love series?
This is part 5. We have one more.
Really?
Yes.
I think there's 2 more.
We have one more after this. So this is part 5 of our self-love series. And today it's a really good one. It's honoring your uniqueness. So I can't wait to get into talking about what that means, what that looks like, what keeps us away from honoring our uniqueness. So really good stuff to dive into today.
Yeah, no, it's an amazing topic. And it's pretty much just going to be like one of our sister conversations that we love to have so much. We have no guests today. So it's just pretty much me and you talking about this amazing topic. And I'm sure people are going to enjoy it. Back to our boundaries conversation. I know there was a replay, I believe, last week of the prior week where we spoke about boundaries and received so many just great feedback from that show. People are really learning a lot from, or have learned a lot rather, from that conversation. So yeah, I mean, even when the hour was done, I remember feeling like, oh my gosh, there's so much more to talk about. So
absolutely,
there'll probably be another boundaries part 3.
Yeah, I think it's needed. Like even for myself, like I read a bunch of books, and of course I haven't been able to read through a lot of them in one setting because I'm doing research and I'm kind of pulling information. But this one boundaries book, like my mind is always like, go back to it. Go back to it. Go back to it. Because there's so much valuable information that I've learned from, speaking with Krista last week and the week
Krista.
before.
Hey, Krista. Shout
I know, right?
Hey, Krista.
And now I find myself being so aware of whether or not I am living in a boundary space. Am I protecting that space? And it's not easy because there are times when I'm feeling like, wait a minute, why am I leaving this aspect of my happiness up to you? I'm like, okay, time to switch. Let's set a boundary around this. And what can I do to control my emotions or my feelings about this? So really good stuff. I don't know how you have grown from it or if you learned a lot more from it.
Well, yeah. And that's why the show is just amazing because, one of the things I want those out there who listen to know is, we don't claim to have all of the answers. And a lot of these things we've also gone through ourselves and had to learn and go through the process, which is why we're so passionate about this show overall. But I still learn so much, even though I believe I do have that boundaries. When we are preparing for this show, I learned so much more about, maybe that boundary over there I can kind of tighten up a bit, or that's another part of it that I never really thought about. Maybe I need to put a boundary in place for that. Like, it's ongoing. Learning is ongoing. It's continuous. We're always going to learn until we're no longer here. So I just want those who listen just to know, we're all on a path of discovery. It's a lifelong path. And, thank you for coming along with us for the ride. But yeah, we too learn things every week through this show, which I just absolutely love. For me with the boundaries, I remember after we finished that show and we had a quick little chat, there was one thing that I thought was really important to mention. And that was, trying to bring it back to my mind now. Remember when I had asked you, okay, say you are in a relationship with someone and you have a boundary and that boundary goes against their boundary, then what do you do? So we actually had a quick little call with Krista and we were like, what do you do? Because it does happen. And her response was, do you want to say?
Yeah, the response was, it really kind of goes with what you can deal with. What works for you, right? And it's what we call deal breakers.
Yes.
Is it a deal breaker? And if it's not a deal breaker, you can work around it. But if it is a deal breaker, you might want to consider moving forward because it's not serving you the way, you probably would like it to. But if it's that deal breaker, it's probably not going to turn out well in the long run.
Well, yeah, it's a very difficult situation to be in because if that's your boundary and that's their boundary, which is against your boundary, then, nobody should be put in a position to have to change what their boundaries are because we've put those boundaries in place for a reason, right? So for me, it was like, okay, well, I guess that, would probably be a defining point in the relationship for sure. And I've been in a situation like that, same exact thing. I had a boundary, it was against that person's boundary, and it was like, okay, I guess we can't go any further.
Right. Because you have to consider in that situation, a boundary is a value thing, right? It's something that you hold very dear to you. It's valuable. So could you imagine someone taking something that's valuable from you, how that would feel? True. If they're constantly violating that thing that you value, that would create that resentment.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And you know what happens when you resent someone for a long period of time? It's going to explode and it's not going to be a very good situation in the end. So understanding and knowing what your boundaries are. They change, they can change. They could, you can pull some back, you could, add some more, but it's an ever growing thing. And Tanis, you said it perfectly. We're not perfect in this journey. We're all growing, and what worked for us yesterday might not work for us today.
So
but
true.
As long as we could stick with, our core values, understanding those, we should be on the right path.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love when you said that just now. Today's today and tomorrow's tomorrow. And as we learn things, it can change. Things can change. Our perspective on things change. My perspective changes every week, I think, when it comes to something. I'm like, I never really thought about it that way.
That way, exactly.
But
and you
I
grow.
think about it.
Yeah,
you grow, you evolve. And that is life. And, there's this kind of thing out there that it's this unspoken yet spoken thing, depending on who you're speaking to, where it's almost like you're not supposed to change and you're not supposed to evolve and you're supposed to, remain the same. And I think, down to our core, there are some things that are definitely there. That's our foundation. But then outside of that, it's anything. It can be anything because it's all about what we experience as we go through this journey called life, especially as a woman. So, great.
Absolutely.
So, what have you been up to this weekend?
Nothing spectacular. I've just been really working on updating like my personal Facebook page and updating my bio and all that good stuff, getting ready to take on some new clients when we get back from our vacay. I'm just kind of preparing and updating some information because some of the stuff on there, my business Facebook page, I swear I haven't changed anything since 2018.
Wow.
I'm trying to get with the program.
Get with the program, girl. Get with the program. Yes. And for those who don't know, we do have a Facebook page, womanhood.ilive. That's where you can find us. And we have to probably do a better job keeping that up. But I do post in there every so often, but I would like to post a lot more. So come on out and join us on our page. And we're working on a group where we'll have our shows within that group as well. And just kind of post things that we can just talk about in between our shows every week.
Yes.
Which would be wonderful. As for myself, this weekend, I went to celebrate my aunt's 65th birthday last night. Such an amazing time. So
happy anniversary, Auntie.
No, happy birthday, Auntie Grace. Happy birthday, Auntie Grace. Auntie Grace she's not a blood aunt, but nonetheless, still an aunt. You know how it goes. And I've known her since I was about maybe 2 or 3 o'clock. Met her through my daycare friend, Georgia. Shout out to Georgia if she is listening to the show right now. And we kind of married our parents so we can have so we could have the friendship that we wanted to have.
I like that.
And we discovered that we lived in the same building. I lived on the 2nd floor. She lived on the 4th floor. So I was always at her house or vice versa. And we just grew up, and still to this day, from daycare to now, still like just the greatest of friends.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, family comes in all shape and makes and colors. And I definitely consider them my family to the core. So yes, happy 65th, I guess I could say that, birthday to my aunt, and I hope you had a wonderful day. It was a great party. I danced. I had a good time. The food was great. I definitely got to do it again.
That's good.
So
even though it's not blood family, but family's where love is. So if you're finding love there, it's fam.
Yeah, family is what you make your family to be, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So really excited for that. And of course, as you mentioned, our upcoming trip to Dubai next week. So really excited about that. We have to figure out if we're going to be on air or not. We're not sure. Let's see. We'll figure it out. But definitely looking forward to that trip. Our first trip together as siblings.
Yes. So that's going to be exciting. I haven't started packing or anything yet, but I'm going to throw some stuff in my
Me neither. I looked
this week, start to organize it.
Yeah, I looked at my empty suitcases in the storage room yesterday, and I was like, should I bring you up? just start putting like a few things in, because I'm one of those last minute packers. I literally will wait until the day I am going away.
Okay.
And start packing, or the day before, and like just start throwing things into my suitcase. And I really don't want to do that this time. I want to be a little bit more prepared because you're so far away. But no, it's going to be.
And not only is that it's so far away, but also I look at the dress codes that they have. So for me, I feel like it's going to take a little bit more effort into planning what to bring, because, they are very conservative. And, they want depending on where you go, they want your shoulders covered and your head covered. And,
Yeah.
So for the most part, I'm just having to be very cautious to make sure that I respect their culture and their way of life as I'm packing clothing. So
absolutely. I know I have some, I had a dress and I was like, I like this dress, but then I was like, is it too short? Is it too, you know what I mean? Because I don't want to be, I don't want to find myself in a situation where they're like, you can't enter with that, with that skirt, or you got to take off those shorts and put on something else. So yeah, we will figure that all out, but I know it's going to be an amazing time. And I plan on probably putting some little clips on our Facebook and Instagram page. On Instagram, we are at womanhood.ilive as well. So that's both for Facebook and for Instagram. And I'm thinking, we could kind of put some clips of our time while we're there. I think that'll be fun. So if you want to know how the trip is going after next week, or pretty much, let's say following Monday, not this Monday, following Monday. Yeah, tune in to our Instagram and our Facebook and see what we're up to while we're there. Yeah, I think it'll be good. Okay.
All right.
Well, with all that said, let's start to talk.
Dive right in. All right. So one of the things that we're going to talk about is the influence that social media has on us accepting who we are and loving our own uniqueness. Many of you probably already know we are in a filter society. Most people don't post a picture without this altered image, which is typically an unrealistic version of ourselves. Because people want to see, they want to look gorgeous and they want to be beautiful. They want to be perfect. And Lady T and I had this conversation about the word perfect before we got on air, and we'll kind of go a little bit into that in a little bit. But how do you feel about that, T? Like, what do you feel really hinders us from just accepting our true natural beauty? Do you feel that social media and these filters kind of give us a distorted image of who we are? And how does that play into our psyche?
I think it does. I'm definitely more aware when I post certain pictures, like, okay, do I like how that looks? Is my angle okay? You do scrutinize things before you post. And I'm not hardcore about it, I would say, but I do like a nice smoother looking picture versus a rough looking picture. So, sometimes I do throw on that smoothing filter. I try not to over filter because to me it's very obvious when people over filter. And I don't like how that looks. It's like, okay, you look plastic or you look like a doll. Like, it's just, it looks distorted. I don't like it. Right. So I try to keep, when I do filter, very, very basic. I'll just use like one filter and that's it. But yeah, I can see the pressure that's out there, especially with everybody doing the same thing, like even when you look at certain celebrities, all their photos are filtered in some shape, way, or form, right? And now it's gone beyond filters where you can change the size of your nose and your eyes and your lips and your cheekbones and all sorts of stuff, right? Like you can look like just somebody who you're absolutely not. So it's, how do I feel about it? It would be nice to not have to feel the pressure to have to do that, which is, I guess we'll talk more about that as we go.
Yeah.
But it's kind of the reality.
Yeah, it's not. It's easy for me to come and say, because I had to do some research to really understand the serious effects of it, right? Because let's be real, we all want to look beautiful. We all want to look like the women on the magazine covers, right? Yeah. Just picture perfect. And these filters help us live in that imaginary world. But according to research, that's actually creating a lot of dissatisfaction with our own natural selves, from body image issues to increase in even teens as young as 13 going to get surgery to alter their face. And they will take pictures of their photoshopped or filtered self to the surgeon and say, hey, I want to look like this because I want to look like this all the time in my selfies. So they're willing to go under the knife and change themselves, and change their physical appearance at such a young age because they're dissatisfied with how they look naturally.
Wow, 13 is so young. Oh my goodness, I can't believe it.
Because when you think about it, if it affects adults the way that it does, because I know so many people, they don't post a picture without it being altered. you would not see an unaltered picture. They live by it, right? So if it's affecting us as adults like that, we have these young minds who are still developing. Could you imagine the impact that it has on them when they get older, the dissatisfaction that they have with themselves, you know, their natural real selves? It's really sad.
It is really sad, and it's very dangerous too, just that whole comparison game. And just not being able to feel comfortable in your own skin and accept, you know, who you are, and know that that in of itself is enough, and it's beautiful. So yeah, it's really unfortunate. And, you know, a lot of it has to do with the things that we see out there, not just on social media, but even like in the TV shows we watch. So for instance, you know, I always have to kind of mention them because they are social media, but you look at the Kardashians, and then you have Kylie, who was very young when she started going through her stuff, you know, changing her lips, changing all the other things that she changed, and then denying that she actually had changed anything, that she just kind of grew into these features, and she denied that for years before it was like, okay, girl, stop lying. Like, we know you have had work. And I believe she was probably like 15 or 16, right? So she was very, very young.
So she's in that early teens.
And I remember having the conversation with my daughter at that time, and I said something about her being plastic, referring to Kylie. And she goes, no, she's not. It's natural. Like, she believed what she was. Yeah. And then, you know, kind of comparing herself against this whole new norm, you know, because I mean, let's be real, they've kind of created this new norm that's plastic. It's not realistic. And they've taken that norm from another culture and kind of created it to be what every woman should aspire to look like if you're considered beautiful. So when you have images like that on TV and in the magazines and on social media, I can see how that can penetrate a young mind. And it's not just young minds, because adults also, you know, compare themselves to these people as well.
Yeah. So, and the sad thing about it, there's another statistics that says that 80% of girls compare themselves to other girls online.
Yes.
80%.
80%. Wow.
So that comparison trap is deadly, because it often causes these young women, and I would even say adults, to do things to themselves that is harmful. More harmful than good. More harmful than good.
Yeah, absolutely. In this article that I read from Healthline, it's a really great article. It is called How I Learned to Stop Comparing Myself to Others. So this woman decides to go on this journey because she realized in comparing herself to others, it was just doing her a complete disservice. But I like what she says here when she says, sometimes these comparisons can actually be helpful. Okay, pause there for a second. Okay. They can give you a blueprint for improvement and inspire you to change, if that's what if that's what you desire to do. Other times, they can be a means to pick yourself apart and see everything that you think is wrong with yourself. And I think that 80% is probably going more in that direction than the part in which you say, okay, you know what? I'm inspired to actually just maybe change the way I dress a little bit more, because I want to, dress a little bit more like this, or maybe change my makeup so I can look, have this look, or bring out this feature that I have, right? So you could use it to be inspired, but unfortunately, that's not the case a lot of the times when it comes to comparison.
Yeah, it is. It's because what happens is social media makes you unhappy with who you are. That's why you go into the desire to alter what you look like.
Yeah.
So you look at your natural self, you're like, oh, I don't like this. Let me change this. Let me change that. Then you start playing this game, then you make this perfect image of what you view as beautiful, and you want to put that out there. But that all the while, the real you is back here, and you're happy with the real you. You're dissatisfied, and you're constantly finding, what can I change? Kind of like what you just said, what can I change? And you can actually become obsessed by it.
Yeah.
There are people that, they're constantly trying to tweak this, tweak that, change this, especially the wonderful art of contouring nowadays could do a lot.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Makeup, could do a lot of wonders. And like I said, it's fun to play with makeup and hair, but I think we're talking about the deeper harm that comparing ourselves to others or having this unrealistic idea of what beauty looks like and what that really does to your self-esteem and your morale.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. It can be quite debilitating. It can cause anxiety in people. It can cause depression in people because they just don't see themselves reflected in society. And yeah, you kind of just go, it really can pulverize your self-esteem and make you feel like, okay, well, why am I here? I'm just holding up space. Like I don't even, compare to all of these quote unquote beautiful people who I see every day. And it's because you're just constantly immersing yourself in this material. And we'll talk more about that after, the ways in which you can help to kind of move away from the comparison trap and just step more into your own authenticity and live your best life.
Right. Because there really is a lot of power to wake up and say, I'm good enough just the way that I am.
Yeah.
I don't have to alter anything. There is real power to be able to do that. As opposed to the alternative, which is I wake up in the morning and I don't feel good enough. So now I feel like I have to do stuff to make myself feel good enough, right, to the world.
Yes.
And I know some people, I met this young lady, it was many, many years ago, beautiful girl, just naturally gorgeous. And her boyfriend used to complain because she would always wear makeup. He never saw her without makeup. And his complaint was the pillows would always have the dark brown makeup on it. Right? And when I say I could tell beyond the makeup that she was just naturally gorgeous, but she felt that she had to put this layers and layers and layers of makeup on to the point where she would wake up first thing in the morning, go in the bathroom, lock herself in the bathroom, wash the face, do a full face, and come out and start her day.
Wow. That's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
That's a lot of work. Yeah.
And the truth of the matter is, the guy she was dating at the time, I know for a fact, he just wanted to see her natural beauty. And I'm confident he wouldn't have loved her any less. Yeah. If she didn't have a speck of makeup on her face, but in that space, what she was doing, she is operating in a space of anxiety and fear and lack of self-love. Yeah. And what I'm hoping by the end of the show today is that we could really get a better grip on what it means to love self. And once again, we're not saying don't put yourself together. That's not what we're saying.
Yeah, no, not at all.
But if comparing yourself and if you are unable to post a picture without it being filtered because you feel like you're not pretty enough or you're not good enough, we want to turn that around on its face and say, you know what, this is me. Sometimes I like filtered images. Other times, not so much. I remember I did a recent photo shoot the other day and I was like, they just filtered my face, airbrushed it. I was like, I don't even look like myself.
You look like somebody else.
Huh?
You look like somebody else.
Yeah, I look like somebody else. It didn't feel authentic to me. And you already know, I try to focus and stay in a space of authenticity as much as I can. Like, that's kind of where I thrive.
Yeah.
So when I saw that picture, I'm like, I don't want to post this. It was too much.
Too much.
And it didn't feel like me.
And
I felt like I was being a fake.
Yeah. Yeah. And some people are fine with being fakes, but not everybody. I know you're not. And I definitely am not. I really believe in living in my authenticity every day. I think it's important, and it just brings me more to me, because I know that there's nothing wrong with me. So it just brings me closer to me. It makes me realize on a higher level who I am and like what I'm about. So I'm fine. Like even today, usually I'm a little bit more dolled up. Maybe I'll have some lipstick on or whatever. And I was like, today's just not the day for me.
Girl, you are beautiful.
Thank you.
See, that's what I'm talking about.
Thank you.
You should be able to come on here done up or done down.
Done up or done down, and it's okay.
There's no shame.
Yeah, there's no shame.
This is me. Hey, the old saying, "Love me or leave me alone."
Yeah,
right?
No, it's so true. And I think one of the things people need to remind themselves of especially when it comes to social media, what you're seeing 99% of the time are people at their very best. So oftentimes you're probably comparing yourself in your average state, quote unquote, to these people who are in their very best. That's not how they walk around all day, every day. You know, they also have a face that looks probably a lot different than the ones that they're posting, right? Mm-hmm. So in essence, there's really nothing wrong with you. You know, you're comparing yourself to something that in that moment is not a realistic standard to judge yourself against. Exactly. Nor should you ever even have to judge yourself against other people. You know, just do you. Just do you.
Right. Exactly. So while we're still on that area, I know I'm watching the time. There's something else that I noticed, you know, after doing some research that I thought was quite interesting, is that when Black and brown people post pictures and they use filters, they tend to use filters that lighten their skin more when you're on the darker spectrum. Ironically enough, when you are Caucasian, oftentimes they tend to use filters that darken their skin more. But I kind of want to touch on the dark to lighter, because that's something that in our culture, being, you know, Black females, that for me, when I grew up, dark was not considered gorgeous.
True.
It was not beautiful. You know, remember the old paper bag test, right? Yeah. If you were as light as a paper bag, you're good. If you're darker than a paper bag, you're considered ugly or not good enough or unattractive. So even in 2022, we're still dealing with that dynamic. You know, although I would have to say that we're a lot better than we used to be.
I believe so.
But when it comes to the filtering, they tend to use filters that slightly make them a little bit lighter as opposed to closer to their natural skin tone.
Very, very interesting and very, very unfortunate. And to be honest, I think some of that is subconscious. You know,
it is.
I think it's subconscious. Like, okay, I like how I look, you know, in this tone.
Exactly.
More, not realizing that maybe what you're saying is you're not quite appreciative of your dark skin in the way in which
you hit it right on the head. Yeah. I mean, you couldn't have said it any better.
Yeah.
It is subconscious. You
Very
know,
much so.
Because even now they did an experiment. One of the old experiments that was done, they redid it, and they had, you know, different hues of kids starting from really, really dark, moving up to the lighter hues. And even today, these kids still feel that the darker that you are, you're the bad one. You're not pretty.
Yeah.
You're the stupid one. And the lighter you go to the Caucasian image, you know, you're beautiful, you're smart, you're nicer. So somehow these messages are still permeating in our societies to make even this generation of 8, 9, 10, 11-year-olds and even younger are saying that dark is bad and light is good. Which is so important. You know, this conversation here is so important that we have to learn to love who we are, love ourselves, our skin complexion to the max.
Yes. Love it. And it's so true. You know, I remember back in my day, before that R&B song, I don't know what it's called again, but pretty much like the dark, I think it was Tupac who said it, like the darker the better, what did he say? The darker y'all know what I'm talking about. The sweeter the juice. The darker the berry, the sweeter the juice. Yes, that was what it was. But before that, you know, I remember growing up and constantly being teased about how dark I was, you know. And it's interesting how much I love myself and my darkness, because I really shouldn't, with all the teasing that I went through as a child. Like, I was called all sorts of names in elementary school. Like, them kids were mean, okay? They're calling me, like, I won't even repeat it, but it was bad. Like, they had a ton of names for me, and I just remember being like, oh, okay. Like, I didn't even know how to take it, you know? But one of the things is I just always appreciated my skin. Like,
good for you.
I've just always appreciated being a dark-skinned Black woman, and I love it. And then when that song came out, of course, everyone's like, hey, you know, all of the dark skin girls were like, hey, you know, like we had our moment. So we felt like we were, you know, like it. But, you know, I did have a friend, and I remember having a conversation with her as an adult. Like, this is a woman in her 40s, and she said, like, she hates being a dark-skinned woman. And I was like, wow, like, why would you say that? And she was like, I just think I would have more opportunities. I think I would have been married by now, blah, 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 if I wasn't dark-skinned. And I said to her, I said, that's so sad. Like, this saddens me to hear you say that. You know, I said, I love being dark. Like, I don't feel like it's restricted my opportunities in any way, personally. Maybe because I don't have that mindset, so I just don't give it energy. Maybe that's the difference. She actually gives it energy, so she's able to see where it's not filling in those gaps for her. But for me, I honestly don't think about it. And I'm glad that, you know, in being teased for all those years, it didn't come back to me negatively. Because I always think, man, if I really held on to that stuff, I would be like a bleached queen by now. And that's a whole other topic, you know.
Yeah, that's a whole other topic.
That's also
I was on the other spectrum. So kudos to you, you know. I was on the other spectrum where I was told, you know, oh, if you were a little bit lighter, you'd be prettier. So I intentionally did not like to go in the sun, because I was afraid to get darker. Now, I did this subconsciously. It wasn't even consciously. It was subconsciously, right? And it wasn't until I got, you know, older, maybe in my late 20s, 30s, that I loved to get my tan. You know, when I would travel, or, you know, give me darkness, bring it on,
bring
right?
it on,
But it took me a while to accept that, because I was told, I was conditioned that the lighter you are, the prettier you are. So I was definitely one of those that did things subconsciously to avoid getting darker.
And
you know, so it did affect me in a negative way. Once again, it was so unconscious, because you just kind of do what you do for survival. That's what it felt like. You know, you do what you do for survival without even thinking why you're doing what you're doing, until you have a better understanding of, wait a minute, I have this insecurity. I'm uncomfortable in my skin. What can I do to change this? It's that awareness piece, which is key. And that's something that we definitely want to let our audience know. Awareness is power. If you could admit it and you can call it out, you can change it. If you deny it, everything stays the same. And you do not grow.
No growth at all. And it's interesting hearing you know, like talk about not wanting to be in the sun. I'm one of those people, as dark as I be, when I go on vacation, I'm all in the sun. Like, I literally will tan, and I'll have tan lines, and I love seeing it, you know? I'm like, bring on the sun. I do not shy away from the sun at all. I love it in all its glory. You know, I appreciate the universe for what it does, just for us to continue to live, but also like what it does for us. Like, sun is good for us to have. That's where we get our precious vitamin D from. So, you know, let's not skimp out on the sun. And every time I say, you know, I can't wait to be on the beach and tan, I get those looks like, you want a tan? Yeah, I want a tan. I ain't afraid of the sun. It's all good. But your experience is very similar to my hair experience. So if we can kind of switch from the skin to the hair, I kind of had the hair experience where, you know, I have a very thick, coarse, as some people would call it, you know, very tight coils. And, you know, my hair, growing up was always a little bit of a challenge to, I guess, tame, if that's what you want to call it. And I remember to manage. And I remember getting my first relaxer when I was 8 years old, and you know, my hair didn't take very well to that at all, because you know, you're a kid, and I wasn't taking care of it the way I should have. And then after that, you know, I just had braids and braids and braids and braids. So as I got older, I wasn't familiar with what my hair texture really was, because I never really rocked my natural hair. It was always covered up by something, or in a braid or in a weave or whatever. And I remember getting my last weave, and that woman braided my hair. It was so tight, it hurt so much. And I remember thinking, why am I doing this to myself? Like, why? What kind of standard am I trying to achieve? that's just not naturally me. You know what I mean? That's not me. All this long flowy hair, and it's not to say we can't obtain that. We all know we can, but it's that image, like you have this coarse afro-y hair, so you're trying to have this tamed look. And that was the last time. I think I had that in my hair for not even a week. And I ended up taking it out because I couldn't even sleep on it.
Yeah.
I took it out and I shaved off all my hair. So, you know, as a woman, we do go through these things, and a man had nothing to do with this one. So, I was just done. I was just done with these beauty standards. I was like, no, like, there's nothing wrong with my hair. I have to learn how to embrace my own hair and my own naturalness. And it took me on that, you know, quote unquote, natural hair journey, shaved it off, had a little fro for a while, and then I started to grow locks. And I had locks for 10 years. A lot of people don't know that. Until one day I was like, okay, I'm done with this too. You know, chop, 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 off comes the locks, right?
Right.
But we do go through these hair things. And yes, you know, maybe some of the things we see on social media has to do with it. For me, it didn't. I just wanted to create my own standard of beauty. And I didn't feel like my hair had anything really to do with that. Because I believe that not only is beauty on the outside, it's on the inside too. And if you have beauty on the inside, it's going to just scream on the outside, regardless of how your hair is, regardless of how dark or light your skin is, right?
Right.
So you don't have to... Go ahead, sorry.
No, go ahead. So you don't have to?
So we don't have to emulate what other people are doing if we just could learn to love ourselves a little bit more and appreciate what it is that we already have going for us on the inside.
Yeah, just be okay with you. Sometimes the phrase love yourself a little bit more can be so obscure, right? What does it really mean?
That's true. That's true.
And I think a good way to say it is be okay with you.
Yeah.
Just be okay
with you. Yeah.
You know? And going back, as we're talking, you know, we're talking about comparison of skin complexions. We're talking about comparison of hair textures. We're talking about comparisons of even body types, right?
Oh, yes.
Features such as, you know, big nose, small nose, you know, big eyes, small eyes. As a matter of fact, when I was doing this research, one of the surgeons said he had someone literally come into his office with a filtered, photoshopped image of her eyes looking like the anime. And she wanted him to make her eyes look like anime. And he was like, I can't do this. And she couldn't understand why he couldn't make her eyes look like anime, of course, right? So I'm mentioning all this stuff. We have so much diversity out there, you know, that we could compare ourselves to, good or bad, right? And I kind of feel like if we could learn to say, I appreciate your hair texture the way that it is, and you say, I appreciate yours, that can help with the growth. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Your dark skin complexion is no different as far as beauty or quality than my light skin complexion. Absolutely. Right? And I think that would absolutely help. The comparison gap is kind of like appreciate others' uniqueness for what it is, as opposed to trying to say that the way you're doing it is wrong. You need straight, silky hair in order for it to be considered beautiful. Yeah. Right? If you have tightly coiled hair, it's bad hair, you know? And that really does something to the psychology of us as Black people. Absolutely. I think that's why we do as much as we do with our hair. I know. Right now. I know. Is to move as far away from that criticism that we used to get. Even within our own family members. I've heard some criticism, boy. Oh, yeah. They call your head tough. You know?
Don't kill me. Your head tough or your head dry?
Dry, you know? And it's like, thinking about it now as an adult, I couldn't imagine telling my daughter that.
I know. Oh, I would never. And it's so true, you know. We hear these things, of course, because they've been passed down from generation to generation. You know, they did the best they could with what they know. And those were probably things they heard from the slave owners, for all we know. Do you know what I mean?
Right, exactly.
So it just continues down and down and down. But it really impacts you when you're older to appreciate certain parts of yourself because they've been so heavily criticized while you were growing up too, right? So a lot of the insecurities come from that. And on that word, we kind of had a brief conversation about insecurities. And the fact that even saying that you're insecure, saying somebody else is insecure is like this taboo bad thing. But the reality of it is we all have some sort of insecurity. It may be a small one, it may be many, but we all have an insecurity of some type that, you know, we continuously work through on a daily basis, or we don't. And we learn to love. Exactly. Exactly.
That's the key, is learning to love it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not comfortable with it. I don't like it. That's the admitting, you know, that you're insecure or you don't like something. But at the same token, I'm going to work hard to learn to love it and deal with it.
Yeah, no, it's so true. Because at the end of the day, yeah, you can change it, but we all know what comes with that. So, you know, just accept the fact that we are unique beings. We're not all here to be the same. That's not the purpose of being a unique being. You know, we come from different DNAs from all across the world, from various people to create who you are right now. And that's okay. There's beauty in that. You know, like display that, love on that. And
when you think about that, like the way you put it, it's really a beautiful, cool thing that there's so much diversity out here, you know, that we're not robots and we're not carbon copies of one another. That would be really boring, you know?
For sure.
But if we could, because if we could be open-minded to be like, wow, that person's, you know, appearance is beautiful because it's unique and it belongs to that individual, and just look at it as works of art, you know, as opposed to something to be demeaned, you know, or criticized or compared to.
Exactly. And not try to compare that. I know in some countries, I won't name the country, but it's somewhere out east, I believe, in order for their girls to have small feet, they like band their feet so their feet don't grow past a certain length, because a woman with big feet is not considered beautiful. It's considered manly. And I'm like, wow, that's hard, you know. Me sitting over here with a size 10.
My size 11, I'll be in trouble.
Oh, you're a size 11 girl. I'm a size 10, so I should be a size 6. I wouldn't even be able to walk or support my body if my
break it in half.
But that's what makes us beautiful. And you know, it's like, yeah, you know what? There's size 11. There isn't anything that I can do about it. So you just continue to live your life and, you know, not give that so much power that it's going to make you feel bad about yourself. Energy. Yeah.
Yeah. My finger toes are going to be finger toes until the day I die.
Your finger toes? I have a finger toe too, don't worry. See, it's and it's okay to say, yeah, you know what, I am a little bit insecure about my thick thighs, you know, or whatever, but it's all good because that's my body. And hey, it is what it is. You just embrace it and you just keep going with it. So let's start talking about some of the ways in which we can kind of combat this comparison syndrome that we tend to have and just love ourselves a little bit more authentically, if possible. So of course, this is the topic about self-love, and how can we talk about self-love without talking about self-care? So self-care is the first one. So, you know, just love on yourself a little bit more, run a hot bath, pour yourself a glass of wine. That can be self-care. And continue just to be honest and insightful and self-aware about, you know, some of the things about yourself that you would like to improve. And rather than putting that energy into continuing to look at these images and try to strive for them or feel bad when you look at them, just find the beauty within yourself and, you know, maybe even dig deeper to discover where your feelings are coming from when it comes to those insecurities. Sorry, did you have something to add there?
Yeah, I was going to say, and sometimes you just have to speak life into yourself.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
Understanding, okay, you know what? I don't like my nose, you know, but this is a nose that I have and it fits my face and I can breathe, you know?
It serves its purpose.
It serves its purpose.
Yes.
And, you know, I was created. You know, this was my creation, you know, the creator's creation. You know, this is what came out and it's beautiful. And just really have to speak that into yourself. I'm beautiful. And start to look at the characteristics of that thing that you don't like. until you could appreciate it for what it is, and it no longer has power over you. So that when you look into the mirror, you're not constantly criticizing yourself, because that's negative energy that you're pouring back into yourself.
Yes.
That negative energy has heavy weight to it.
It's a loop. It can really take you for a loop. In this article here, which I loved, and on Healthline here, she says what she did was she started to journal her thoughts, just to kind of uncover where they were coming from. And that allowed her to look inward. And she said that once those thoughts were on a page, I had the power to observe them and decide whether or not they were true or just a result of me feeling inadequate.
Right. But you know what? That probably stemmed from somewhere. In her past, I could probably guarantee you that someone made a comment about that brought it to her attention. Because I don't believe anyone was born, to say, oh, I don't like this or I don't like that.
Yeah.
When a kid operates in its authenticity, they don't care about anything. They're running around, they're playing, they're not criticizing, not pointing, oh, that's ugly, that's not, they're just pure.
Yeah, they're pure.
But it's us as humans and adults and educators and our media and our society that starts to plant these seeds into our little ones' heads and our adult heads that starts to rate things.
Yeah.
This is good. This is
bad. Yeah. 100%. She said in being able to do that, she was able to unpack the thoughts and decipher where they may come from. So that's how you go about doing that. And she said it was incredibly freeing. She said it wasn't always easy, because confronting some of her more darker feelings were very hard, but looking at them straight in the eye gave her the power to begin to move forward. I like that. There's something really empowering in that as well. You mentioned social media, and that is one of the tips that we can give you, to kind of move away from that comparison, is to do a social media detox. It says we're constantly bombarded with people who live a blessed lives on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. What we don't consider is that we often compare our own worst moments with someone else's highlight. Social media can be a great source for inspiration, but if it triggers inadequacy, self-doubt, and frustration, then choose to do a detox. Make sure you control social media and not the other way around. And that's what's happening with the comparison game, is the other way around. Social media is controlling you, you're not controlling it, right? And we have the freedom to change the channel if we don't like what it is we're seeing, or if what we're seeing is making us feel away, right? We have the power to unfollow and find something else that makes us feel better about ourselves. And I think a lot of people, in my personal opinion, and in my personal circle in life, need to be doing that, away with all of these images and just come in with some things that make you feel good each and every day. So I agree. What do you think?
I agree with you 100%. As you talk about the influence of social media, since the rise of social media, suicide rate has increased.
Yes.
And it's because of the comparison trap. And that's what the comparison trap does. Like you said, or the author said, you put the best version of your life online, and someone is sitting there thinking, oh, my life is a dud. I don't have anything going for me. They're able to do this. They're doing that. They're eating some of the finest foods. But the truth of the matter is, they're just highlighting, like you said, or like the author said, some of the better moments in their life. And we're looking at it as though they're living that type of life every single day. And then we start to feel bad about ourselves. Our self-esteem goes down. Our depression goes up. Anxiety goes up. And before you know it, you're in this vicious cycle of not feeling good enough.
Yeah. Realize that you're not perfect is another one. There will always be someone who's richer, smarter, and more attractive than you. No one is perfect. Trying to be perfect is not the solution. So instead of getting down on yourselves for your flaws, quirks, and imperfections, and we all have we are imperfect people. I just want to stop and pause there. We are imperfect people. That's who we all are. Accept them fully.
I would say that we're perfectly perfect.
We're perfectly perfect.
Imperfect. We're perfectly imperfect.
Absolutely.
Right? Because there's no such thing as perfection, and that's deception. That's the deception in that word. Is that we're striving for something that's unattainable.
Unattainable, yeah.
It's unattainable.
Yeah. And that's how this ends off, was by saying, free yourself from embracing the fact that you're perfectly imperfect. So they said it right there too. Yeah, we are perfectly imperfect. Absolutely. Turn your comparison into inspiration. So we tend to compare behind the scenes with someone else's big moment. We tend to focus on their success, not on the thousands of hours that they've spent preparing and working for their achievement. Instead of letting other people's triumphs get you down on yourself, let them open you up to possibilities. Let them be inspiration for what you can be, do, and have in your life. And I have a personal story with that. I know we have 6 minutes left, but I have a personal story with that. I remember before I became a nurse, and I was there, and I was like, should I go into nursing? I don't know, kind of going around. But I really didn't think I can do it. And I don't know why I didn't really, I kind of know. I do know. I think it was because of just how I saw myself at the time. But I was like, I don't think I can do it. It's 4 years, blah, 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 blah. But then I really had to step back and say, hold on a second. There's like thousands, if not millions of nurses around the world. So if they can do it, they're no better than me, like if they can do it and put
life into yourself.
I did. I absolutely did. And I did it. And the 4 years went by so fast. Not going to say, first year was a little bit of a challenge, but I continue to persevere, and here I am 10 years post or 11 years post graduation now, and it just came so quickly, and it left, and I did it. So sometimes you just have to take other stories as inspiration, not comparison, just inspiration, and say, hey, if that person can do that, guess what? I have it in me too. And dig deep and find it. It's there. It's there for all of us. I truly believe that. Tell a better story. I like this one. If the story you're telling yourself isn't one of empowerment, strength, and optimism, then tell yourself a better story. Instead of telling yourself you're not competent enough to do the work you want to do, tell yourself that you're brave enough to try something new. Instead of blaming yourself for mistakes in the past, remind yourself that you did the best you could and that you have learned from it.
Yeah. A really simple way to put that, I would say, is what I'm doing right now working for me? Mm-hmm. If you answer yes, continue doing it. If you answer no, it's time to think of what can I do to change? Because me beating myself up is not working for me. Mm-hmm. Me telling myself I'm not good enough is not working for me. Me telling myself that I'm ugly or unattractive or incapable of accomplishing the things that I want to accomplish is not working for me. So let's change that. What can I do? Mm-hmm. Let's change the narrative. If this self-talk is not working for me, replace it with self-talk that will inspire you and motivate you to make the positive change that you want in your life.
Yeah, 100%. And the last part that I do want to mention is be proactive. So in this article, Sarah is the therapist, and this young lady, we'll call her Mindy, is seeing Sarah. So she said, even after she did a lot of some of the things that we mentioned, she said she felt clear on her unique talents, her skills, and her qualities. She was much more confident, and she no longer saw other people as her rival. Mm-hmm. She said she felt lighter, and her friends remarked that she seemed to be in a great headspace. She also said, I wasn't feeling burdened by feelings of inadequacy anymore or worrying about hiding my jealousy. She found herself able to appreciate and celebrate other people's successes as well as her own. And I like that part. Celebrating other successes, but also celebrating your own.
Right. And it goes back to what I was saying earlier about, I appreciate your uniqueness, appreciate my uniqueness. This is who I am. This is what I look like, mm-hmm. right? So I know we have like 1 minute or so I want to read something from this really cool book. It's called Self-Love Poetry. And I think it's a great way to wrap up today's show. And she says, expectations closed my eyes. Gratitude opened them. Fear closed my eyes. Trust opened them. Complaining closed my eyes. Appreciation opened them. Perfection closed my eyes. Authenticity opened them. Guilt closed my eyes. Self-love opened them. So what we're hoping is that self-love will open your eyes today to free yourself from the bondage of the comparison trap and learn to love yourself a little bit more each and every day than you did the day before.
Absolutely. I love that. Beautiful. So thank you, everybody, for joining us today. We hope that you were able to take something away from this. We appreciate you. And tune in, of course, next week, same time, same place. Next up, we have Honey Drop with Lucia D. And after that, Soul Expressions with DJ Sessions. Take care, everyone.
Take care. Enjoy the rest of your week.
This is Felicia Temple, and you're listening to iLive Radio, changing the way you listen to radio.
Hi, I'm urban Christian artist